Let's make this one. So this is a dope sound, but it's honestly pretty simple. So in Serum, we're going to use all three oscillators. Oscillator A is going to be our sub sine wave set to 0 octaves. Oscillator B, a sol wave, up 3 octaves, up 7 semitones. And oscillator C, a sine wave, up 4 octaves, up 7 semitones. We're utilizing some warp modes here. On oscillator C, PD from B is turned on, as well as sync. Both of these have macros mapped to them. On oscillator B, we also have sync mode turned on with the same thing, just a macro map to that. Our main LFO that we're going to be using for modulation is going to be shaped like this, and then we're going to be modulating the rate to get that whippy type sound. We're going to take this and drop this on the level knob for all three oscillators. We're also going to draw another LFO shaped like this, set to quarter notes, and then this is going to be mapped to the main tuning. We're going to set that to around negative 12%, and this is just going to give it a little bit of a pitch bend on that initial attack. The effects, pretty simple. We're going to load in an instance of compressor on single band mode, dial in our threshold and our gain to where we want it. Then we're going to bring in our first instance of distortion, set to asim. Then we're going to set the drive knob to around 50%, and we're going to take our main LFO, we're going to drop that on the drive, dial back the mix just a touch to around 85%. Then I'm bringing in some hyperdimension with the mix set to around 23%, and then more distortion. The first one being soft clip with the drive set to around 58% and the mix dialed back to around 29%. The second instance being dialed 1. The drive turned all the way down on this one and the mix set to 50%. And then I have a macro map to this that I'm just bringing in at certain points during the phrasing just to make it sound a little grittier. As I mentioned, I'm using macros on a bunch of different parameters here, including the pitch bend, the warp modes, phase distortion, sync mode, and then the drive here on that last instance of distortion that I was talking about. And then we also have it mapped to the rate as well for our main LFO. As far as post-processing, we have a saturator with the gain, with the drive cranked up a bit, or the dry wet turned down to around 81%, multiband compression with the amount turned down to around 53%. Our first EQ here, where we're scooping out some frequencies we don't want, the mids, boosting the highs a bit. Another EQ, doing the same thing, just kind of emphasizing the frequencies that we want while carving out some more. Fresh air, this brings out the highs. Stab, this is a great compressor that just tightens it up a bit. Multi-band saturation rack that I made, where it splits the sound on the highs, mids, lows, and then a dry signal. More EQing, cutting out some mud we don't want. A multi-band compressor with the dry wet turned down to around 50%, just making it a little bit louder, tightening it up. An instance of soothe to tame some of those harsh frequencies. And then one last EQ, just kind of carving out some frequencies we don't want, just helping it to sit in the mix a little bit better. There you have it.